everyone, Jeff here with you for episode number 33 of the Wednesday Night Wrestling Blitz here on YouTube. This is a GMTE Express add-on exclusive. As once again we have AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite and WWE going head-to-head this week. Let's get it underway with NXT first. This was their go-home show, the NXT TakeOver in Your House. It took place from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. This was taped back on May 27th. Mauro Ranallo and Beth Phoenix had the call here. They opened the show with Candice LeRae and Mia Yim in singles competition here. Of course, this plays up what's been going on between the husband and wife teams here. So we had the women here in action. This was actually a match I was looking forward to seeing on the show. So, they go to have the match here. Unfortunately, it doesn't last very long here. They do some stuff in the ring, and then eventually they just work their way to the outside. They beat up on each other. The match ends in a double count out. We see Mia Yim get thrown into the LED board, which glitches like it normally does in that situation. We see other members of the women's roster make their way out to try to pull them apart. Then we see referees come out. Eventually, we see Johnny Gargano and Keith Lee come out in their street clothes to support their significant others here. We eventually get a standoff as they work their way back to the ring. Then it was announced over the loudspeaker that William Regal, boy, this was very quick, by the way, of him announcing this, even though he wasn't clearly not there, that he was turning this into the predictable mixed tag team match. So they used the Candice LeRae Mia Yim match. They used that as a bridge to get to the predictable mixed tag team match. Just very lazy booking here, just a way to try to kill some time here. Why not just have the mixed tag team match to begin with instead of just doing this? It's just laziness. So anyway, we get that mixed tag team match. It doesn't go much longer because they come out from the commercial and they have the match. It goes about another 5-6 minutes. The women pretty much do most of the match here. The men really don't get involved because they're in their street clothes, of course. We just get late in the match here. Keith Lee looks like he's going for a powerbomb attempt, but Johnny Gargano stabbed Keith Lee in the eye with his car keys, and then Mia Yim went to check over on Keith Lee, and then Candice LeRae rolled her up because they were still legal, and they got the win. That was it. So the heels get the win here, and then afterwards, they did a deal on the outside as well, where Keith Lee's hand was in between the steel steps and the apron, and then Gargano just smashed his hand there. So I didn't have a big problem with this. He's a heel. It's a heel thing to do, but it is what it is. So they got the win here, but I just didn't like the idea of bridging the singles match into the predictable mixed tag team match. You could have just done the mixed tag match to begin with. Just lazy booking, I thought. After we got a hype package promoting the Tommaso Ciampa Karrion Kross match, we had a backstage interview with Dexter Lumis. He was asked about who he thinks is going to win the NXT title match this weekend at TakeOver. He didn't say anything. He left for a little bit and then came back with an easel and started the draw. So we'll find out what he's drawing here later on. We had an interview earlier in the day that was pre-recorded outside with Drake Maverick. He said he felt no pressure about his upcoming match. I wonder why that was. We'll find out here soon enough. So we got this video package here for the Adam Cole Velveteen Dream title match included. We saw Adam Cole hanging out with the rest of the Undisputed Era at a restaurant, and then we see Velveteen Dream seeing a motivational vision of Prince. And then we had analysts and insights from Sam Roberts, Peter Rosenberg, and Drew McIntyre throughout this. So this was what they were calling this prime target stuff here, just basically hyping up these matches. We saw this quite a bit here throughout the show here because this was the go-home show, the NXT TakeOver in Your House. So we come back to Dexter Lumis again. His drawing was completed here, and then basically the drawing revealed was himself driving a car with the Undisputed Era minus, I believe, Roderick Strong, if I'm not mistaken. So they're all tied up in the back of this car. So I wonder what that could mean. We'll have to find out. We had singles action next here. This was a follow-up to what happened in the Cruiserweight tournament. We had Isaiah Swerve Scott taking on Tony Nese here in singles competition. Thought this was actually a pretty good match here. Again, I thought these guys told a pretty good story here. Two good workers here, so they gave it some time here. Late in the match, Jack Gallagher does come out to try to distract Isaiah Swerve Scott. It almost worked, but it didn't get it done. Swerve Scott was able to win after he reversed a sunset driver into a sunset flip and got the win on Tony Nese. Of course, Tony Nese loses again. And then they try to go after Swerve, but he gets out of there, and Neeson, Gallagher, Swerve, revenge on Isaiah Swerve Scott after the match. So we had that. We had a triple threat tag team title match to determine who would be the number one contenders for the NXT tag team titles here. We had the Undisputed Era, that's Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong. We had Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, and we had a mystery team. And the mystery team turns out to be the return of Breezango here. So Tyler Breeze and Fandango. Fandango's back after rehabbing an elbow injury, so good to see him back here. I thought this was pretty good stuff here. Each team got a chance to shine as the match went on here. Actually, a pretty bit of a surprise here. Breezango actually won the match here, which was surprising here, because they've been building up Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch here in recent weeks, and they didn't win here. But I still think they're going to work their way into this tag team title situation here at some point. So Breezango gets the win. Breeze hit Bobby Fish with the beauty shot, and then Fandango put him away with the last dance, so they got the win. Imperium did come out here, and then we saw Malcolm Evans and India Shear enter after them as well, and then all three teams stared each other down. So clearly we have something brewing going on here, so that we'll see where that happens. So then we get clips from what happened last week with Robert Stone and Chelsea Green after basically we saw Chelsea Green saying that she's the hottest that she's ever been, that she fired Robert Stone. So he doesn't have a client. That leads to the next match. We had Aaliyah taking on Santana Garrett here in women's singles action here. Neither woman really doing anything here. Robert Stone does come out during the match to support Aaliyah. It didn't work. Santana Garrett actually got a win here, which was surprising. So she beat Aaliyah here, and Robert Stone, who came out looking very rough here, of course, I guess distraught after Chelsea Green dumped him, so didn't look good there. Santana Garrett actually got a win, surprisingly. So we got another one of these Prime Target video packages promoting the NXT Women's Championship Triple Threat, talking about what they're going to all be doing. Each of them had a chance to talk, so this went on for a little while. Then after that, we had Cameron Grimes and Bronson Reed in singles competition here. Bronson Reed dominates a good portion of the match. Bronson Reed late in the match goes for a dive off the top or the middle rope. He eats it on the mat, and then Cameron Grimes is able to recover and hit the cave-in for the win. Then afterwards, Karrion Kross appeared in the ring after match. Cameron Grimes bailed, but Bronson Reed was still in the ring, and then he hit the Doomsday Sato on Reed and then cut a promo on Ciampa. It was announced then we'll have a 6-woman tag team match that was announced for In Your House NXT TakeOver. Mia Yim, Tegan Nox, and Shotzi Blackheart taking on Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. This was the result of what happened earlier in the show when all those women came out to try to break up Candice LeRae and Mia Yim during that opening match before the mixed tag. So they announced a 6-woman tag. I'm going to take the baby faces rather. I'm going to take Mia Yim, Tegan Nox, and Shotzi Blackheart to win that match, by the way. So the rest of my predictions are on my podcast. You can see where you can listen to the podcast if you're watching this on YouTube. Final match of the night here was the finals of the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship Tournament. Here we had El Hilo del Fantasma, of course, the former King Cuerno of Lucha Underground, taking on Drake Maverick here. Of course, they've been telling the story about how Drake Maverick has to win to keep surviving and to avoid losing his job. So he makes it all the way to the finals here. I thought this was actually a pretty good match. Good stuff here from these guys. Maverick kept making the comeback, but ultimately he fell short in the end. Fantasma, to the surprise of no one, got the win after he hit the Thrill of the Hunt on him, and he became the interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Of course, Jordan Devlin, who's overseas right now, is the Cruiserweight Champion, but of course he can't make it over right now to defend, so that's why they did this interim tournament. We see Maverick, he was getting a standing ovation from the people there because they're already standing. This would have been his final match, but of course I think a lot of us kind of figured what was coming next. Triple H eventually does enter to offer him a new NXT contract, and he signed it tearfully. Drake Maverick did. So basically this was nothing more than the storyline all along, which I think some of us, including myself, kind of had in the back of our minds that maybe this was what they were going to do here. Obviously, they did it for a ratings grab. It didn't really work, obviously. And I think, and I saw some response on social media as well. I think it's a slap in the face that they actually do it this way. I thought it was very tacky, very scummy. Look, Drake Maverick's been having some great matches. There's no question about it. But the way they did it here, I didn't like this. I mean, there's other ways they could have gone about it. And in all honesty, I think the easiest way to do it was not release anyone, because Lord knows that WWE is making more money than they ever have, and I think they could have afforded to keep all the talents. So to do it this way, I thought was kind of tacky and scummy. I'm sorry, but that's just my thought on that. But so Maverick's going to stay, and I know I've been reading as well that apparently they've been trying to offer to bring some people back, but for far less than what they were making initially. So that's what we had there. So that was NXT from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. Their go home show to NXT TakeOver in your house, that is. So let's get on to AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite. It took place on Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. This was also a taped show. We had Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur on the call. They opened with the AEW Tag Team title match here. We had Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defending those titles against Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. Penelope Ford was out there with Kip Sabian. They have the match. It's fine. Penelope Ford gets ejected at ringside at one point for interfering during the match. The elite members here were able to win. Hangman Page won for his team after he pinned Jimmy Havoc with the last call. So they win and retain in what I thought was a decent match for what it was. Then we got this clip from social media of Tully Blanchard giving Sean Spears this motivational pep talk here in kind of an angry tone here. And then eventually he presented him with his fingerless black glove. So I wonder what that could mean. We'll have to wait and see. Brian Cage here, of course, he's with Taz. They come out here for another match against Sean Dean. This was basically an enhancement here for Cage. He looks very strong, pins him very quick after a drill claw. Afterwards, Taz cuts a promo on Moxley asking about why he was smiling last week. Moxley does show up and said the reason why he was smiling because that fighting a guy as intense as Cage makes him happy. So that's the reason they gave here. So they're going to have that match at Fyter Fest. And we did find out that Fyter Fest will be a 2-night special. It's going to be on July 1st and also July 8th. It's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern time on TNT. So you're going to get a chance to see it for free. You don't have to pay for it. So it's on basic cable or satellite. Then we see Alex Marvez interviewing Lance Archer. He gets worked up about talking about his one loss won't deter him because he says, quote, everybody dies after Archer leaves, and he threatens Marvez a little bit, doesn't really do anything. Jake Roberts, who was there as well, apologized to Marvez for his behavior, so we had that. We see Private Party having drinks backstage when Matt Hardy showed up to check on how Marquis Queen was doing after he hurt his knee in last week's program. And ultimately, this led to Private Party suggesting that the three of them should team up as Hardy Party. So, could be the way to try to give Private Party the rub here, try to get him over a little bit by being with Matt Hardy. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if they might have some action going forward. So we get ready for the next match here. It's Chris Jericho and Colt Cabana in singles competition. Sammy Guevara does come out on his one leg with the scooter, of course, and then he's singing very loudly to Jericho's entrance theme. We see QT Marshall and Ali. They were in the crowd there with their arms around each other. Wonder what that could mean. Perhaps a little double cross action. We'll have to wait and see. So they have this match. Jericho and Cabana did. In the match, it's okay, I guess. The outcome never in doubt here. Colt Cabana fights off Jericho for a while, but Jericho ultimately won in the end with the Judas Effect. Afterwards, Jericho cut a promo, says that him versus Mike Tyson is the match that everyone wants to see. I don't know who everyone is that he's talking about. I actually don't want to see the match. He kept asking for the baddest man on the planet to come out, trying to make references to Mike Tyson here. He does not come out, but Orange Cassidy does come out here. We see Orange Cassidy put Jericho's hands in Jericho's pocket, and then Jericho and Jake Hager, who was out there as well, try to go after Cassidy, but they fail to lay a hand on him, and he's able to work his way out, go through the crowd where the best friends are. So could be pointing the seats for something. We'll have to wait and see. We got a montage of Britt Baker working out in her wheelchair because she's got this knee injury, so she said she's going to be back for All Out in early September. We'll have to wait and see, but this was a pretty good montage here. One of the best things on the entire show. We had Nyla Rose and Big Swole in singles action next here. This was okay, I thought. Not too bad. Pretty good storytelling here. Nyla Rose ultimately won in the end after she hit her spinebuster powerbomb combo for the win here. Some people call it the Tiger Bomb, but that's what it was, more or less. Afterwards, Tony Schiavone is attempting to interview Big Swole at ringside. They're interrupted by Britt Baker, who was there in her wheelchair in the back of the golf cart, talking trash. Of course, Rebel's out there with her. Swole goes to grab a chair and is going for Baker, but we see Britt yelling at Rebel to drive her away. So there could be a Rebel Big Swole match coming up in the near future. We have an interview backstage with Darby Allin. Tony Schiavone's interviewing him and, talking about what's been going on. And basically, the gist of this was Darby Allin saying that life's a joke, but he'll get the last laugh. So we'll see where that goes. Tony Schiavone did another interview here. He did it with FT Artists, their first on-camera interview here. They're naming a bunch of AEW tag teams that they would like to face because AEW does have the best tag team division in all of wrestling. They didn't mention the Young Bucks until Tony Schiavone asked about them. They say they want to beat the Bucks in 3 minutes, but they saved the Bucks from the Butcher and the Blade because they beat the Bucks. They don't want anyone to have any doubt about them being 100%. They're going to say the Butcher and the Blade do show up, and then FTR said that their attack wasn't personal, but they can settle it in the ring, and they will have that match next week. So we have the Butcher and the Blade taking on FTR this week. FTR's first official match in AEW, now will be on next week's program. Another interview, we saw Alex Marvez interviewing Colt Cabana backstage about his recent losses. Colt Cabana's not happy. We see Brody Lee show up, so he makes an appearance here, and he attempts to recruit Colt Cabana into the Dark Order. We'll see if Colt Cabana joins or not. I would say the answer is no. And your main event for the night here was the TNT Championship match. We have Jungle Boy taking on champion Cody Rhodes here. Of course, Arn Anderson's out there. The Jungle Express is out in the crowd. They have the match. The match goes on. I thought this was the best match on the entire show. They do this deal on the outside at one point with Cody. He gets thrown into this wall out on the outside, and he starts bleeding, whether he did it hard way or he bladed. I've heard both things being mentioned. Especially with what's going on right now. I don't know if blood's exactly the right thing. But anyways, so they go to have the match. Cody ultimately won in the end to the surprise of no one. He hit the crossroads on Jungle Boy to win and retain here. Afterwards, we see the Nightmare Family and the Jungle Express all in the ring. Cody helps Jungle Boy up. They all hug, and they're all celebrating with each other as they go off the air. So that was it. That was AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite. It took place from Daly's place in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's get on to the ratings here for this week. Once again, AEW Dynamite beat NXT in viewership and in the demo, but this was very close this week. AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite did 730,000 viewers. That is down 12% from last week's 827,000 viewers, and NXT did 715,000 viewers, which was down just 2% from last week's 731,000 viewers. So AEW won by just 2% this week. AEW came in 27th in the Cable 150 in the demo, while NXT came in 45th. AEW was 71st in viewership. NXT was 72nd in viewership. AEW did a 0.29 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, which was down 9% from last week's number of 0.32. NXT did a 0.20, which was up 5% from last week's 0.19. So more younger people tuning in to NXT because it was their go-home show. CNN tonight topped the night in 18 to 49 demo on Cable 150 with a 0.60 rating with 2.801 million viewers. Sean Hannity's show on Fox News Channel topped the night in viewership with 4.839 million viewers, coming in number 5 in the Cable 150 with a 0.50 rating. Chicago Med on NBC topped the night on network television viewership with 3.9 million viewers, and then Up on ABC topped the night in the demo with a 0.6 rating. So AEW won all the demos except 50 plus, which NXT won. Very close this week, but AEW was able to win the viewership battle once again. So with that, AEW now has 29 wins, NXT has 5, and we have the one tie. My pick of the week, and this was interesting because I didn't think either show was all that strong this week, to be honest with you. I thought both shows were just kind of going through the motions. Thought it came off a little flat, both shows did, especially NXT, but AEW was pretty flat as well. I didn't think either show was a blowaway. Very close, but I'm going to give it to NXT this week. I think their build was just good enough to squeak by AEW, but it was very close. It was very even, I thought. Neither show was a blowaway, but NXT is my pick, so I have them now with 19 picks and AEW with 14 picks through the 33 episodes that we've done. Let me know down in the comment section below your moment from what your favorite moment from Wednesday's wrestling action was, and we'll see you the next time with the next Wednesday Night Wrestling Blitz on YouTube. Bye for now, everyone.